Before we conclude, this morning with closing remarks by François Villeroy de Galhau, Governor of the Bank of France, we have a little special moment here, a bit of history in the making, with an important signature of a groundbreaking partnership to expand green finance in Europe. This is a partnership between Amundi and the European Investment Bank. And to present this partnership under the auspices of Paris Europlace here for you today, in front of this audience live, we are going to hear about it from Augustin de Romanet, Chairman and CEO of ADP, Chairman of Paris Europlace, and it will be also commented by Ambroise Fayolle, Vice President of the European Investment Bank, Yves Perrier, Chief Investment Officer of Amundi. Please stay with us, Yves, in a discussion moderated by Jean-Jacques Barberis, Head of Institutional and Corporate Client Coverage at Amundi. Gentlemen, please join the stage for this unique signature and explanations.
So thank you really much for hosting us and to Paris Europlace to give us the opportunity to give some comments about a new green initiative at European level. So we are mentioned today that this whole event is about new frontier. One of the new frontier we believe in is clearly the green finance frontier, as discussed this morning. And to tackle that frontier, to explore the frontier, we're very happy to present today an initiative that has the ambition to expand the scope of the green fixed income market in Europe. So at the moment, the green fixed income market in Europe is massively developed, but mostly on the most liquid part of the market, and also the one that provided the less returns, with also the ones that are accessible mainly to big issuers. So one of the issues that we have at stake at European level on the green fixed income market is really to give it access to smaller entities delivering better returns for investors. And so that's what we're going to launch today, an initiative called GRECO, so for Green Credit Continuum. And I would like to leave the floor first to Augustin de Romanet for him to tell us how he believes this initiative echoes the ones of Paris Europlace and Paris as a financial center.
Merci Jean-Jacques. Very shortly, Paris Europlace is very proud to host this agreement. In Paris, as you know, we are decided to be at the forefront of the climate change war. And so we appreciate innovation, we appreciate cooperation with European institutions, and we have important asset managers in France. So we have an agreement with an important asset manager in France, with Yves organization, Amundi. EIB, Ambroise likes to tell that he becomes the first pan-European climate change bank, so he will express what he's feeling. So we are very proud to host this agreement. And we hope that next year we'll have many agreements such as this one to continue this important action. Thank you.
So thank you very much. So GRECO is about a fund, a strategy. It's about a transaction network to source some green assets. And it's also about a scientific committee to help to set up the green standards. So Ambroise, maybe I would like you to comment on what will be the role of European Investment Bank in this partnership, and how do you see that, I would say, as in line with the fact that EIB used to be the pioneer of green finance in Europe?
Well, good afternoon, and thank you very much. Merci Jean-Jacques, merci Augustin. EIB is the Bank of the European Union, and we were the first bank to issue a green bond in 2007. So we are very much interested in the development of the market. And as a public bank, we are very much interested to look at which are the underdeveloped part of the market. And here we are dealing with some big components of the market where the green bonds are quite limited and underdeveloped. So for us, it's a very great opportunity to look at both increasing the size of those who are going to issue green bonds, and at the same time looking at the question of standards and what we can do on standards.
Thank you very much, Ambroise. And finally, Yves, maybe you can tell us what will be the role of Amundi in the initiative, and how do you think it's interesting for investors to invest into that field?
Firstly, I would say that this is part of a global strategy in ESG, which is on the one hand to generalize the ESG integration in a fund, and the other hand to raise capital to orientate, the money of investors toward this kind of investment. This, kind of initiative, fits both with the needs about sustainable finance, green finance, but also the need for investors who are searching additional yields, and the yield on the remuneration on this kind of fund is substantial and very interesting for investors.
Thank you very much. So now, gentlemen, I will ask you, Yves, Ambroise, to go and sign the agreement together about the launch of this green continuum strategy that we're going to deploy in the coming 3 years. So thank you very much, and I would like the audience just to give a round of applause for the European Investment Bank, Ambroise Fayolle, Augustin de Romanet for inviting us, and Yves Perrier for the initiative. Thank you really much, and Adrian, I think the floor is yours again.
All right. Congratulations, gentlemen. That's a great initiative. And now let us all give a warm round of applause to the closing remarks of this first morning of the 2019 edition of the Paris International Finance Forum. And this honor comes to François Villeroy de Galhau, Governor of the Bank of France. François.
Thank you, dear Adrian. Cher Augustin, cher Arnaud, merci et bravo, une fois de plus. I reassure you I will speak in English, but allow me this sentence in French to thank and congratulate the organizers of this once more wonderful Paris Europlace International Financial Forum. It's more and more the place to be, as France and Paris are increasingly stimulating first movers in Europe. And I'm sure the Prime Minister will elaborate about that at lunch. The theme of this forum, New Frontiers in Finance, prompts us to look forward new territories that we have to explore and conquer. Regarding finance, I will focus on two of them, digitalization and green finance. But before looking at the future, let me stress two prerequisites for the present. And I will not be too long, as I'm the last speaker this morning, and I'm conscious that you have worked very hard for almost 4 hours already. About these two prerequisites, my first message is to welcome the new European team nominated in Brussels last week, starting with Christine Lagarde and Ursula von der Leyen. Once again, albeit at the last minute, albeit under the threat of a crisis, Europe and the Franco-German couple have proved themselves to be decisive and innovative. Now, it is highly time to begin the fundamental work on a true financial Eurosystem. Let us look beyond Brexit and beyond the somewhat disappointing debates on the Eurozone budget. We have a monetary Eurosystem and a successful one. We still have to build a financial Eurosystem. And this is our point this morning. Hence, the top priority on the European agenda should be now a financing union for investment and innovation, which will channel our abundant savings, our abundant private savings, through the combination of banking union and capital markets union. And let me stress why. First, firms need this in order to raise equity and find European venture capital. Let me stress that keeping a European capacity in investment banking is a strategic imperative for Europe. Financial players also need this union in order to conduct cross-border mergers. European banking consolidation is overdue, and it is indispensable not to reduce competition, quite the opposite, but to reach the critical mass necessary to make digital investments and to allow these private savings to circulate. And lastly, not only firms, not only financial players, but the euro area needs it in order to finally have an effective economic stabilization tool to weather the shocks affecting some countries. Private risk sharing is effective between states in the United States. And if one doesn't want a fiscal union, duly noted, one must make even more resolute progress on capital market union for this stabilization purpose. Let me say it, we have talked enough about this, and it is now time to take concrete measures. This must be the ambition of the new Commission. The ECB will support it without any doubt, with the unanimity of its Governing Council, and France will be a committed player. My second prerequisite is the successful implementation of Basel III. It is vital that we do not forget the lessons from the financial crisis, nor break the promise we made in 2017. But this transposition must be fair, naturally involving the United States, and reasonable. The first estimates of capital requirements, which have been published recently, are premature and do not give the horizon. Should I remind you that Basel III will be finalized only in 2027. Our objective and our assessment are crystal clear, and I want here to give a commitment. Basel III is for all French banks compatible with normal allocations of profits to reserves in the coming years after distribution. In no case will it require a dedicated capital increase. Let me now go towards the new frontier of digitalization. We obviously all need to make the digital leap. Digitalization is opening up a positive world of possibilities for corporates and customers alike. Worldwide, it clearly represents both an opportunity and a challenge for banks, as well as for supervisors. The ACPR, l'ACPR, the French supervisor, which I share, is working actively on these issues. Last year, we published a discussion paper on the implications of artificial intelligence in the financial sector. And this year, we are working with financial industry participants on the implications of AI algorithm in three topics: AML, internal models, and customer protection. Beyond incumbents, new players are now becoming increasingly important. Fintechs are competing on niche markets, yet they do not have the capital resources to disrupt incumbent banks and can even be acquired by them. On the contrary, big techs do have the potential to fundamentally redefine financial intermediation. They have strong brand recognition, a worldwide customer base, and privileged access to cutting-edge technologies. This new situation is a major challenge, not only for incumbents, but also for regulators and supervisors. Of course, financial regulation should remain technology neutral. The basic principles, same activity, same regulation, still applies. This is a good thing for the level playing field. However, beyond traditional financial regulation, international cooperation should be developed in 3 areas, 3 cornerstones of the regulation of the digital finance of the future. First, cybersecurity. It's a sine qua non for a reliable and sustainable digital future, and it is a clear priority of the G7 French presidency. We will gather with Bruno Le Maire next week in Chantilly, finance ministers and central bank governors, including on this issue. Second, regarding data protection, financial supervisors and authorities in charge of privacy have to invent new ways of cooperation to address data issues that have become central to financial services. Third, regarding competition and antitrust policies, situation where the winner takes most while staying outside the scope of financial regulation should be adequately anticipated and addressed. Stablecoin projects, including Facebook's Libra, are a strong case in these points. Stablecoins are quite different from speculative assets like bitcoins. However, regulators have to keep a very close eye at the global level. And believe me, we will do it. France, a chair of the G7 this year, has created a dedicated task force. Our aim is to formulate a response that is common to all jurisdictions and holistic on all the issues. And to quote only 2 of many requirements, it is imperative that the projects of stablecoins comply with anti-money laundering regulations. The anonymity of the users creates heightened risks. In addition, if issuers of stablecoins also want to offer banking services such as deposits, financial investments and loans, then they will have to obtain a banking license in all countries where they operate. We are quite far from the creation of a global private currency. But stablecoin projects reveal gaps in existing cross-border payment systems. Hence, at the European level, we should aim at promoting a genuine European strategy for retail payments. Payments are no longer a mere boring back-office technicality, as they perhaps used to be in the past. Payments are innovative, and they provide 2 strategic assets, data and daily customer relations. But the growing role of non-European digital firms, be they American or Chinese, offering payment solutions should be taken seriously. Despite the creativity of the European ecosystem of payments, our market remains too fragmented. Against this background, I call for the creation of pan-European payment solutions, building on a common brand and on the technical success of what we call TIPS, Target Instant Payment Settlement Infrastructures, which is managed by the Eurosystem. We don't have much time left, but regulators, starting with the Banque de France and market players, should work hand in hand to create a momentum on this European payments strategy. Let me now conclude with some words on green finance. As I once said, it is a new frontier for this 21st century. Much has already been said this morning, and much has already been undertaken in the past few months. We are currently witnessing a growing awareness. Clearly, green finance and climate risk management have gone from the nice to have to the must have, from emotion to reason. From the point of view of your financial institutions, climate change is hence no longer confined to corporate social responsibility policy. It belongs to core risk management. Concerning central banks and supervisors, the creation of the so-called NGFS, Network for Greening the Financial System, in Paris in December 2017 has been a decisive step forward. Let me give you some impressive figures. In 18 months, this coalition of the willing, very enthusiastic one, has increased from 8 founding members to over 40 members and observers from all 5 continents, with the Banque de France acting as its permanent secretariat. This momentum has an important meaning. Supervisors and central bankers have collectively acknowledged that climate change-related risks are a source of long-term financial risks. Last April, the NGFS published in Paris again its first comprehensive report with 6 operational recommendations. Let me now say a few words on the road ahead for us and mention 3 priorities for the near future. First, we must rely on enhanced disclosures that need to be built on sound taxonomies. The taxonomy published by the European Commission in its technical expert group TEG on sustainable finance 3 weeks ago is a welcome step. Second, we have to better anticipate long-term climate-related risks through what I call the video of the risk. It's not only a snapshot. We must push for building a forward-looking approach of the impacts of climate risk through the development of comprehensive climate stress tests. And this is a key issue on the technical agenda of the NGFS. Third, green finance should mature and upgrade its professional standards. Financing needs for energy transition are huge. In Europe alone, it is estimated that an additional 177 billion per year will be necessary till 2030 to reach the EU's energy and climate objectives for the next decade. The European Green Bond Standard, proposed again by the TEG of the Commission, should ultimately help here to make green finance more professional, more qualitatively irreproachable. Let me, to conclude, quote the real inventor of the new frontier, JFK himself. The new frontier of which I speak is not a set of promises, it is a set of challenges. I believe the times demand new invention, innovation, imagination, decision. I am asking each of you, each of us, to be pioneers of that new frontier, unquote. Today, almost 60 years later, we obviously face other challenges. But let us keep the same energy. Let us not think that the battles have already been lost. Let us break limits and invent new practices taking into account both digitalization and climate change. Merci beaucoup de votre attention.